My husband's 10 years older than me, it was an arranged marriage, and he treats me like a kid. No ice cream, no late nights, no sleepovers. All kinds of rules. I'd had enough. So I went to a bar and ordered a whole lineup of hot guys to keep me company. My fingers had just brushed against one guy's tie when a shadow fell over me. My husband, Nick, who was supposed to be on a business trip, was standing right behind me, his voice ice cold. "Sorry about that. My kid snuck out." Nick seemed polite, but he wrapped a forceful arm around me and escorted me out of there. Back in the bedroom, he slowly, deliberately, tied my ankles with his tie. "Looks like your husband needs to teach you the rules of marriage." I'd had enough after just 1 year of being married to Nick Blackwood. He's 10 years older than me. He seems like a perfect gentleman on the outside, but he's actually a domineering control freak. He loves telling people what to do. Everyone in the house has been on the receiving end of his orders. But he's worst with me, treating me like I'm his daughter. No ice cream, no late nights, no sleepovers. It was suffocating. Last night I had 1 extra pint of ice cream, so this morning, he had the housekeeper empty out the freezer. I was stunned. I stormed into his study and demanded, "Nick, are you serious? I had 1 extra pint of ice cream, and you won't even leave me a single one." He was sitting at his desk, looking at his computer, gold-rimmed glasses perched on his nose. Without looking up, he said, "Promise me you won't sneak any more, and I'll consider refilling the freezer." I stood in the doorway and yelled, "You're going back on your word. Before we got married, you promised my dad you wouldn't try to control me and that you'd respect my wishes." He suddenly hit a key and turned to look at me. His brow furrowed slightly. "I respect you plenty in bed." My face instantly turned red. I walked over and slammed my hands on his desk. "Don't change the subject." My ears, however, were burning uncontrollably. "We're talking about the ice cream." Nick suddenly swiveled his chair around, pulled me onto his lap, and said, "In bed, I'll listen to whatever you want. But out of bed, you should listen to me." Seeing him talk about something so indecent with such a straight face, I got angry and pushed him away. "You're just being unreasonable." He glanced up, his voice flat. "Emicham. Only with you." Furious, I slammed the door on my way out. It wasn't until that evening that Nick came to placate me. He came into the guest room after his shower, wrapped his arms around me from behind, and kissed my earlobe. "Still mad?" I turned and pushed him, trying to kick him off the bed. But he grabbed my ankle and supported my waist with one hand. "You be in charge tonight, okay?" I cursed him for being so shameless. When I didn't cooperate, he started biting me right where I'm most sensitive. Only when he heard me whimper in pain did he slowly start kissing the corners of my eyes. "Are you going to listen to your husband from now on?" I bit down hard on his shoulder. God, I hate this man. The next morning at breakfast, I deliberately sat away from him. Nick glanced at me, his tone calm. "I'm on a business trip this week. I'll probably be gone for about half a month." I kept my head down, drinking my milk and ignoring him. He wasn't annoyed. He just turned and instructed our housekeeper, Mrs. Davis, "While I'm gone, make sure she doesn't have any cold drinks." I was so mad I lost my appetite. I put down my chopsticks, got up, and left the table. A little while later, Mrs. Davis came to get me. "Ma'am, Mr. Blackwood asked if you would come finish your breakfast." I was sitting on the sofa and snapped, "I'm full." Mrs. Davis knew my temper, so she didn't press the issue and left. A few moments later, footsteps approached again. Nick's long fingers touched my cheek, his voice a low coax. "I'm leaving now." I turned my back to him and huffed. He suddenly lifted me right off the couch. "Don't be angry, okay?" He brought his face close to mine, his gaze scorching. I couldn't help but shrink back, and then I suddenly noticed 2 of his assistants standing a short distance away. They were both frozen in a pose of intently studying the scenery outside. I steadied myself against him, my face flushing as I mumbled, "Have a safe trip." He smiled, satisfied, then bent down to give me a hug before leaving with his assistants. After Nick left, I was finally free. But my happiness didn't last long. With no ice cream in the house, half my joy was gone. I was too annoyed to sleep, so I called my best friend to complain. She just kept laughing. Wow, Nick's that strict? He seems so sophisticated and gentle. It's all an act, I said, fuming. He's a total tyrant. Okay, my friend said, finally calming down. He's just worried about you. He's afraid you'll eat too much and get a stomachache, or end up in the hospital with gastritis again. I told you back then not to marry an older guy. You said older men know how to dote on you and that this one was hot. Looks like the only part you cared about was him being hot. As much as I hate to admit it, I totally fell for Nick's looks. He has strong, handsome features and deep-set eyes. High brow bones, a high-bridged nose. He's almost 6'3", with broad shoulders and long legs. I heard he's a quarter German. At the time, I was obsessed with the idea of having a cute, mixed-race baby. So when I heard about the arranged marriage with him, I didn't object. Thinking back on it now, I must have been out of my mind. I had only met Nick a total of 3 times. The first time was at my college graduation. I was on stage giving a speech as a top graduate. When I looked up, I saw Nick sitting in the front row of the audience. He was wearing a black suit, his posture impeccable. He had a cool, noble air about him that made him stand out in the crowd. The second time was at the Blackwood estate, for his grandfather's birthday party. That's when I found out he was the Blackwood family's eldest son, who'd been missing for years. He was kidnapped by a careless nanny when he was 2 and was gone for over a year. The incident caused a huge sensation in high society. Even though I was born much later, I'd heard the gossip. After he was found, the family sent him abroad. He only came back last year to take over the family business. Stories about him circulated through our social circles. A titan of Wall Street investment banking, the top heir. He was known for being low-key and mysterious, rarely appearing at social events. And the third time was in his bed. When I woke up, I was clutching the sheets, completely lost. He, on the other hand, was calm and composed. He slipped a ring on my finger and said, "I'll take responsibility for you." We got our marriage license soon after, but we haven't had the wedding yet. I thought being married would be fun. But now, I find it incredibly dull. It got even worse when my best friend told me her boyfriend took her to a concert. And for her birthday, he surprised her by dressing up in a panda costume. That made me even more jealous. Nick would never do something so undignified. Nick was gone on his business trip for 3 days, and every day a gift arrived from whatever city he was in. I got so tired of opening them that I texted him to stop buying things. He agreed, but the next day, another one showed up. My mother-in-law came to visit just as I was recovering from an all-nighter spent reading a novel with a sad ending. Seeing my 2 red, puffy eyes, she thought Nick had been bullying me. After I explained, she immediately took me for a spa day. While we were getting massages, she started in on me again. "Daisy, dear, Nick is busy with work and might neglect you sometimes. I hope you can be more understanding. You 2 have been married for a while now. You should have a baby while you're still young. I'll help you take care of the kids." I listened obediently, but it went in one ear and out the other. Have a little stick in the mud just like him? No, thank you. While soaking in the hot spring, I was scrolling through X on my phone. Suddenly, I saw the #1 trending topic in entertainment. Blackwood Group CEO spotted at Serena concert. I tapped the hashtag. Serena was on stage in a sexy, black slip dress. Her eyes were looking toward a specific section of the audience as she called out, excited and happy. "Thank you to Mr. Blackwood for coming out to support my concert." The camera quickly panned over, and there was Nick in the VIP section. He was sitting casually on a sofa, his hands clasped. Next to him was another man, a famous A-list actor. I suddenly found it hard to breathe, a heavy weight pressing on my chest. Serena was known as one of the most stunning beauties in the entertainment industry, a total siren. They said every rich heir in the city had fallen for her. But none had succeeded in winning her over. The rumor was that she was waiting for Nick. She and Nick were considered childhood sweethearts. Her family, the Scotts, had once been a potential match for an arranged marriage with the Blackwoods. The marriage never happened, and there were many rumors about why. One was that Serena had entered the entertainment industry. Looking at all the photos and posts shipping them, I let out a small, bitter laugh. So he does do undignified things, just not for me. My phone suddenly buzzed. A message from my best friend. Daisy, you have to stay calm. Nick was probably just there as an invited guest. I gripped my phone tightly and opened my chat with Nick. Our last messages were from that morning, when he'd asked me what I had for breakfast. I'd sent a one-word reply, and that was it. I forwarded him the post with over 10,000 likes and added a message. Mr. Blackwood, please handle your scandals. If you want a divorce, I'm ready to sign anytime. After the message sent, I turned off my phone. I closed my eyes and went back to enjoying the hot spring. It was an arranged marriage, after all. We didn't have much of an emotional foundation. Whatever affection we'd built by doing it was like a stone tossed into a lake, a brief ripple, then nothing. My mother-in-law drove me home and noticed I was a little down. She gave me a credit card and told me to buy some bags or pick out some jewelry from her boutique. I wasn't interested. I tossed the card aside and called my best friend. She could tell from my voice that I was upset. Did you see the news? Yeah. So, what are you thinking? Divorce, I guess, I said, trying to sound nonchalant. According to the prenup, I'd get 40% of his assets. I wouldn't lose out at all. My friends suddenly scoffed. Why should you get a divorce? You didn't do anything wrong. The other woman should be the one who's embarrassed. She's in the entertainment industry and dares to be a homewrecker. Her fans would tear her apart. Her words did make me feel a little better. We talked for over 2 hours. I checked online and saw the trending topic had been taken down, but Nick still hadn't replied to my message. Fine. Just great. He can go on dates with his childhood flame, and I can go on dates with male models. I called my best friend and we headed to my cousin's bar. My cousin is a notorious playboy and knows how to have a good time. When he heard I was looking for male models, he brought a whole lineup over. Take your pick. Never one to miss a chance for drama, he put his arm around my shoulder and whispered in my ear, "Nick's okay with you messing around like this?" I shot him a look. Just keep your mouth shut. Then I walked over to the booth and let a crowd of models surround me while I drank. I hadn't had this much fun since Nick started controlling my life. I didn't turn down a single drink, downing one after another. When I was starting to feel tipsy, I leaned on a model's shoulder and asked, "Is this a good line of work?" His eyes suddenly lit up, and he deliberately lowered his voice. "It's great. I get to chat and drink with beautiful women like you. And if there's interest, we can make a story happen." "Oh," I said. "Do a lot of rich older women come here?" "Quite a few," he joked. "But a rich woman as beautiful as you is rare. I bet you have guys chasing you all the time, right?" "I'm married." I waved my hand, about to show him my ring, but my finger was bare. The model looked at my empty finger and suddenly laughed. "Looks like your husband doesn't love you that much. He didn't even buy you a ring." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you know? I'm just being low-key." The model chuckled. "Low-key? Since when is wearing a ring considered flashy?" I leaned back against the sofa, too lazy to explain. The ring Nick gave me was huge. I wore it out once and lost it, and he had people searching all night before they found it. When my dad heard about it, he called me home for a lecture. That's when I learned the ring was worth $5 million. After that, the ring went straight into a safe. I usually wear a simple band, the same style as the one Nick wears. I'd taken it off to shower before coming out and forgot to put it back on. But this was better. Made it easier to flirt with younger guys. I pointed to the most handsome model and told him to go keep my friend company. She waved her hands in a panic. Don't you dare get me in trouble. My boyfriend gets jealous. Let's just have a few drinks, okay? I pouted and grumbled, ditching your friends for a guy. She sighed and put an arm around me, reaching for the glass in my hand. You should drink less, too. Be good. Don't do anything you'll regret. I wasn't actually planning on anything happening, I just wanted to let loose. After getting together with Nick, he became so strict and never let me go to places like this. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a model who wasn't talking or drinking. The stern look on his face reminded me a bit of a younger version of Nick. A wave of anger washed over me. I staggered to my feet and walked over to him. Hey, you haven't toasted me yet. The model looked at me, his eyes a little cold. He looked even more like him up close. I subconsciously reached out my hand toward him. My fingers had just brushed against the model's tie when a shadow fell over me. The next second, a large hand gripped my waist. Nick was standing right behind me, his voice ice cold. Sorry about that. My kid snuck out. My body went rigid. I slowly turned around. He was wearing a black suit, his hair slightly messy and falling over his eyebrows. Without his glasses, his eyes held a chilling intensity. You like him? He pulled me into his arms, my face brushing against his chin. I suddenly caught a faint scent of perfume, not his usual custom Henry Jacques, but the classic Chanel No. 5. He must have just rushed back from his childhood sweetheart's arms. Fire burning in my chest, I pushed him away and deliberately provoked him. Yeah, I do. He looks younger than you, hotter than you, and I bet his skills are better, too. Nick's eyes narrowed, his expression instantly turning terrifyingly dark. Seeing the tension, my best friend immediately shooed away all the models. Then she looked at us. You two talk it out. I'm gonna go. With that, she ran off without a second glance. I had just called out her name when Nick grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at him. Better skills? You want to try them out? I met his gaze and laughed lightly. I was about to, but you interrupted. Nick grabbed my waist and pressed me against him, his voice low. If you wanted it, why didn't you come to me? I rolled my eyes in exasperation. Come to you for what? Weren't you busy on a date with your childhood flame? He frowned. What childhood flame? Don't play dumb. I opened my phone and showed him the trending topic. Was the great CEO Blackwood too busy running the world to notice? Nick glanced at it, his face darkening. He explained, it's not what you think. What do I think? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, right. There were no pictures of you two hugging or rolling around in bed, so it's not convincing enough, is it? Nick took a deep breath, as if trying his best to hold back his anger. You didn't get my messages because you blocked me. I bit my lip. So what? If he really wanted to reach me, he could have found a way. We'll talk about this at home. He grabbed my hand and started striding toward the exit. I angrily shook his hand off. Who wants to go home with you? I'm going to my parents' house. Nick caught up and grabbed my hand again. I couldn't break free, so I bit down hard on his wrist bone in frustration. He didn't even flinch, as if he couldn't feel the pain. I bit for a while until my teeth started to ache. He sensed me letting go, lifted my face, and glanced dispassionately at the bite mark. I'll take you home, he said. When we got to my parents' house, I jumped out of the car and bolted into the yard. I startled our butler, Carl, who was watering the flowers. Miss, you're back. I heard another car door shut and quickly said to the butler, Carl, there's a dog chasing me. Close the gate, quick. Carl froze for a second, dropped the hose, and had just reached the gate when he saw Nick. He immediately changed his tune. Mr. Blackwood, you're here too. I stomped my foot in frustration and yelled at Nick, I'm home, now you can leave. My mom heard the commotion and came out, seeing me flailing around. She gave me a playful swat on the butt. Stop misbehaving. Then she warmly greeted him, Nick, come on in. Furious, I kicked off my slippers and stomped upstairs. After lying on my bed for a while, I assumed Nick had left. So I went downstairs without a second thought. To my surprise, he was sitting at the dining table, eating a bowl of noodles. My mom saw me standing barefoot on the stairs and frowned, her tone reproachful. You're so thoughtless, you know that? Didn't you know Nick hasn't even had dinner? I was speechless. Who told him not to eat? This was a man who scheduled his mealtimes with precision. How could he possibly be hungry? Besides, he'd probably already eaten his fill at some other woman's place. Seeing me bite my lip, looking wronged, my mom couldn't bring herself to say more. Her tone softened. Come on down. I'll get you a bowl. I sat down across from Nick, fuming, and warned him, Nick, when you're done eating, you're leaving. Got it? He looked up at me, then suddenly got up and walked away. Just as I was starting to feel happy, he came back holding a pair of slippers. Put these on. There he goes again, trying to control me. I turned my head away and ignored him. His Adam's apple bobbed as he knelt down and forcefully lifted my foot. My mom came out with the noodles, saw me without shoes, and started lecturing me again, finally threatening to tell my dad. I had no choice but to put on the slippers. Nick sat back down and continued eating his noodles with his chopsticks. He ate elegantly, without making a sound. I, on the other hand, held my bowl and deliberately slurped my noodles as loudly as I could. Even my mom blushed with second-hand embarrassment. Good grief, child, who taught you to eat like that? I didn't care. If he didn't like it, he could be the one to change. When I finished, I pushed my bowl forward and left. Then I leaned against the second-floor railing, watching the scene below. I needed to see Nick leave my house with my own eyes to feel at ease. A moment later, he walked out of the dining room but headed straight for the stairs. I panicked and accidentally kicked one of my slippers off, sending it tumbling down. Nick looked up just in time to see it, and his brow furrowed deeply. You did that on purpose. I was baffled. But I quickly understood what he meant. He thought I was provoking him. I lifted my foot, kicked off the other slipper, and tilted my chin up at him. This is me doing it on purpose. Just as I was about to turn and run, he was suddenly behind me. One arm wrapped tightly around me, the other cupping the back of my head. Leaning against the railing, his lips pressed firmly against mine. I bit him, and he gasped, pulling his lips away. I kicked at him. Nick, this is my parents' house. He held me from behind, leaning lazily against the railing. No one can see. His words made my face turn beet red. While I was stunned, he suddenly swept me into his arms, walked into my room, and locked the door behind him. In the bathroom, I desperately tried to dodge his kisses. Don't touch me, I'm tired. He lifted me onto the bathroom counter and buried his head. I trembled all over, but I had no strength to push him away. I heard his voice, hoarse and tinged with an undeniable authority. I'm in charge tonight. An hour and a half later, the water finally stopped. He wrapped a towel around his waist and opened my closet, but couldn't find any of his clothes. So he picked up his phone and made a call. Bring a set of pajamas and my clothes for tomorrow. When he came back to the bed, I forced my eyes open and cursed him. You're a monster in a suit. A wolf in sheep's clothing. He sat down and started rubbing my lower back. He casually placed his phone in front of me. In that instant, my eyes flew open. Looking at his phone, I had a sudden urge to open it and see what was there. It was the perfect chance to test his reaction, to see if he'd try to snatch it back. As I was debating with myself, wanting to look but feeling it was beneath me, the dark screen suddenly lit up. An incoming call. I instinctively narrowed my eyes and saw two words flashing on the screen: Serena. After a few seconds of shock, I suddenly rolled over and glared at Nick. "Answer it." He glanced down at the screen, then back at me. "It's nothing important." I scoffed. "How do you know it's not important if you don't answer?" Hearing the anger in my voice, Nick sighed, picked up the phone, and answered. But before he did, he put it on speaker. Serena's gentle voice trickled out of the phone. "Nick, I heard you're back in the city." Nick kept his eyes on me and gave a noncommittal MHM. He asked proactively, "Is something wrong?" "It's late." Serena was silent for a moment, then her tone became a little unnatural. "Am I interrupting something?" "It's nothing, really. I just haven't seen you in a while and wanted to treat you to a meal to thank you for coming to the concert today, and for the flowers you sent." "Oh, great." He went to her concert and sent flowers. And now she's calling in the middle of the night to thank him. Does she think I don't exist? A knot of anger tightened in my chest. I rolled over, about to get out of bed on the other side. Nick suddenly grabbed my ankle, pulled me back, and wrapped me in his arms. He said to Serena, "You don't have to be so formal. I was just delivering them for someone else." Serena fell silent again, then hung up abruptly without another word. "Do you understand now?" Nick tossed his phone aside and looked down at me. I played dumb. "Understand what?" Nick's voice was flat. "That there's nothing between her and me." I rolled my eyes. "I understand that you, Serena, and that someone else are in a love triangle. Mr. Blackwood's love life is so rich. I'm truly impressed." Impressed. MMPH. The rest of my words were smothered. He didn't let me go until I was gasping for air. "If you keep talking nonsense, your husband is going to get angry." I glared at him. "You're not my husband." Nick's eyes narrowed as he rose up, slowly pulling out his tie. He wrapped it around and around my ankle. "Looks like your husband needs to teach you the rules of marriage." I shuddered and grabbed his wrist. What are you doing?" He smiled, a slight curl to his lips, as his calloused fingers traced my waist. "Teaching you to behave." The next day, I didn't wake up until the afternoon. My whole body ached. I touched my finger. I found the ring had been put on at some point. On the nightstand was a sticky note with Nick's strong, forceful handwriting: "You can stay for 3 days." I peeled off the note, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it in the trash. I'm staying for 3 months, 3 years. But the very next day, my mom started trying to kick me out. "If you don't go back, you won't even know it when a new woman moves into your house." I grumbled, refusing to get in the car. "Who cares? Let him try." My mom poked my forehead hard. "Daisy Chen, are you going to listen to me or not? Nick is handsome, talented, and he's the heir to the Blackwood family. Do you know how many vixens out there are dying to get their hands on him?" I didn't say anything. My mom suddenly took my hand, her voice full of pity. "I saw the news about that celebrity, honey. That's why I'm worried about you too. Even though the Blackwoods told us the marriage required someone with a clean family background and that they wouldn't choose some actress, you never know what the future holds." She shouldn't have brought it up. The mention of Serena made the knot of anger in my chest tighten, and I couldn't get over it. I turned and got into the car, telling the driver to take me to the Blackwood Group headquarters. When we arrived at the building, I saw a crowd of girls holding signs. As I got closer, I saw the signs had Serena's name on them. So, Serena was upstairs right now? They just saw each other, and now they're so eager to meet again? I laughed bitterly and headed straight for the CEO's private elevator. After a call to his secretary, I was on my way to the top floor. He was waiting for me at the elevator. "Ma'am, Mr. Blackwood is in a meeting." "With Serena?" "Yes, and her team." I pressed my lips together but didn't say anything. He must have thought I misunderstood something, because he added, they're here to discuss an endorsement deal." I waved him away and he left. I walked over to Nick's desk, which was twice the size of the one at home. There was a photo frame on the desk. I was a little scared to see who was in it. Covering my eyes, I peeked through my fingers and saw it was a photo of us. In the picture, I was hugging Nick and kissing his cheek. His smile was subtle, but the corners of his eyes were crinkled. I never expected him to keep this in his office. A tiny bit of sweetness bloomed in my heart. Suddenly, the door behind me opened. Nick strode in, with Serena following behind him. When she saw me, her brow furrowed slightly. I put the photo frame down and walked over, affectionately linking my arm with Nick's. "Honey, I'm here to pick you up and take you home." He raised an eyebrow, mumbled a reply, then turned to introduce me. "This is Serena, the brand ambassador the company is planning to work with." I smiled at her but didn't offer my hand. I hung on Nick like I didn't have a bone in my body. Nick had to wrap an arm around my waist to guide me to the sofa. "You have terrible posture," he said. I pouted and whined, "My back hurts." "I wonder why." Halfway through, I stole a glance at Serena, who was still standing there. "Ms. Scott, please have a seat. Don't be shy." She looked between us and said, "Mr. Blackwood, if there's nothing else, I'll be going." Nick nodded. "Okay. Be on time for the shoot tomorrow." He called his secretary to escort Serena out. Serena bit her lower lip, looking a little reluctant to leave. But Nick just lowered his head to talk to me. "Your back hurts? Let me rub it for you." As soon as the door closed, I pulled his hand away. Nick turned to look at me. "Why did you suddenly come here?" I blinked back at him. "Mom told me to keep an eye on you, in case you get snatched away by some fox." Nick paused, then suddenly smiled. "Did Mom also mention that you're a bit of a fox yourself?" I glared at him, and he pinched my cheek. "So you're not worried about me being snatched away by a fox? What's there to be afraid of?" "A fox doesn't have to be a woman," I provoked him deliberately. "You've got options, and so do I." Nick's fingers suddenly tightened. "Ow!" I yelped, slapping his hand away. "That hurts." His expression turned a little cold. "Next time you say something like that, it'll be more than just a little painful." This old man, all he knows how to do is threaten me. The next day, because Serena was shooting a commercial, I was afraid Nick would go watch her, so I followed him to the office again. After spending the whole morning there, I realized I was just making trouble for myself. He was the CEO, with endless meetings and calls. When would he have time to supervise a commercial shoot? So after having lunch with Nick, I slipped away. I met up with my best friend to go shopping and talk about opening a beauty salon. As we were browsing, a notification popped up on my phone. "Serena's LB tattoo goes viral." I curiously tapped on it. It was behind-the-scenes footage from today's shoot. Serena was wearing a form-fitting slip dress, and a tattoo was peeking out from her lower back. The letters LB were clearly visible. Her fans went wild. Is she really dating someone? She even got a tattoo. I think it's that Mr. Blackwood guy from her concert a few days ago. OMG, they look so good together, a billionaire CEO and an A-list star. Wait, hold on before you start shipping. I think the big shot is wearing a ring. What does a ring prove? She's a public figure, she has to be discreet about her relationships. That's probably why she's not wearing one. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to Nick. Maybe I should just let her have you? Less than an hour later, the trending topic disappeared. Nick called me several times, but I didn't answer. I put down my phone and took a sip of the coffee in front of me. Sitting across from me was Serena, her makeup still on, looking as beautiful as a swan. I put down my coffee and looked up at her. Is your next role playing the other woman? The sharp attack made her face change instantly, but she still pretended to be calm. Mrs. Blackwood, there's no need to be so harsh. I just love him quietly. Quietly enough to become a trending topic, I added dryly. Quietly loving a married man. You're really something. Serena gritted her teeth, looking frustrated. You and Nick are just in an arranged marriage. Do you even really love him? I chuckled at that. Oh, so you're the one with the true love? She frowned and was about to speak, but I cut her off. How old are you that you still believe in true love? Besides, if he truly loved you, he wouldn't have married me. Watching Serena's face grow paler and paler was strangely satisfying, though I felt a little pity for her. But don't worry, I'm very generous. I can divorce him. Serena looked up in surprise. I smirked and continued, but only on the condition that he's willing to divorce me. That sentence made Serena's face turn ugly, her lips trembling slightly. I turned and walked out of the coffee shop, heading for the Bentley parked by the curb. The car door opened, and Nick was sitting inside. He was in a sharp suit, legs crossed, holding a document. When I got in, he glanced up at me, then went back to reading. It wasn't until the partition slowly rose, sealing us off from the driver, that he put the document down and pulled me to his side. What did you talk about? I said nonchalantly, everything we should have, and everything we shouldn't have. Nick's brow tightened, his eyes growing colder. Are you really willing to step aside for her? I didn't answer him. I lowered my head, my voice muffled. If you like her, I can divorce you. As the words left my mouth, the hand on my waist tightened, as if trying to merge me into his body. Like her? Nick let out a cold laugh. Don't you know who I like? My heart fluttered. I suddenly felt a little nervous. He cupped my face from behind, forcing me to look at him. What about you? That night you jumped me, was it because you liked me, or did you have other motives? Nick stared at me, and his intensity made me so nervous that my mind flashed back to our third meeting. That night, my best friend and I had gotten drunk at a bar. Suddenly, a man came over and said he'd take us home. I thought it was just another clueless guy trying to hit on us. I took my drink and went to the private room, only to see it was Nick. I pulled him over for a few drinks, then got so drunk I basically passed out in his arms and refused to leave. He took me back to his place and put me in a guest room. Later, I got thirsty, wandered into his room, and then stumbled into his bathroom. In the end, everything that shouldn't have happened, happened. Seeing my silence, his grip on my face tightened. The pressure hurt, and the words tumbled out before I could think. Of course I liked you. He looked down at me, his expression unreadable. I wrapped my arms around his neck and gave him a light kiss on the corner of his mouth. Nick's lips suddenly curled into a smile. A soft chuckle escaped his throat as he pulled me into his arms. You'd better have. I pounded on his chest, warning him, you and Serena had better be completely innocent, too. Nick took my hand and brought it to his lips. There is nothing between her and me. I've never cared about her. How could there be anything to like? I don't know if it was Nick's reassurance that did the trick, but I stopped paying attention to Serena and started planning our wedding. After just one day of talking with the wedding planner, I didn't want to have a wedding anymore. Every step was so tedious and exhausting. When it came time to choose the wedding music, the planner recommended one of Serena's songs. I asked her why she chose that one. The planner said the song was very popular and many couples used it. I gave her a disdainful look, stood up, and told Nick's secretary, I don't like it. Change it. The next day, we had a new wedding planner. When Nick found out, he didn't say anything. There's a gala tonight. You're coming with me. He put on his tie and stood by the bed, waiting for me. I reluctantly got up and tied it for him. You'll see a lot of celebrities, he said suddenly. My interest was instantly piqued. I asked casually, will Sean Miller be there? Nick glanced at me. How do you know about him? I pouted. He was at Serena's concert with you. How could I not know? Nick frowned. So you've had your eye on him this whole time? I was tempted to say yes, but I was afraid of triggering another jealous fit. I straightened his tie, wrapped my arms around his neck, and said sweetly, "He's not nearly as handsome as my husband." Nick's eyes darkened as he stared at me. I smiled. "I don't follow celebrities." Nick raised an eyebrow. "Then whose autograph is that in your drawer?" "That was my idol. A singer I'd loved since I was a kid. You can't compare him to these new pop stars." Nick asked me, "Are you still going to his concert this year?" I nodded like it was obvious. "Of course. I go every year." "I know you won't go, so I'll go with my friends." He was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, "I'll go with you. And remember, only me." There was a red carpet before the gala, but it was just for the celebrities. Nick and I went straight to the dinner, where we met all sorts of industry tycoons. I even ran into my playboy cousin, who was whispering in a starlet's ear. I discreetly took out my phone and had just snapped a picture when someone blocked my view. A man with a beefy face ordered me to delete it immediately. I ignored him and turned to leave. But he grabbed my arm. "I told you to delete it." Suddenly, a gentle voice came from behind me. "Miss Chen, he's my bodyguard." I turned at the sound of the voice and saw Serena walking toward me in a beautiful white gown. Her hair was up, revealing a long neck adorned with a sapphire necklace. It looked familiar, like it was from my mother-in-law's brand. She walked up to me and smiled gently. "Miss Chen, this gala is a private event. No photography is allowed. Please delete the photo." I clutched my phone and smiled. "I wasn't taking a picture of you." At that, the smile on Serena's face vanished, replaced by a sharp glare. "Since you haven't attended this kind of event before, Miss Chen, you should learn to follow the rules. You wouldn't want to embarrass Nick." Her voice was low but every word was crystal clear. I calmly took out my phone and called Nick. "I'm lost." A moment later, Nick and Sean Miller both walked over. I immediately started complaining. "Ms. Scott wants to see my phone. Should I let her?" Serena explained, "Nick, I saw her taking pictures of me, and you know how much I hate being secretly photographed." Sean Miller looked at me with a smirk. "Mrs. Blackwood, secretly taking photos is a bad look." I shot him a cold look and tossed my phone to Nick. He unlocked it, glanced at the screen, then looked at Serena. "She didn't take a picture of you." Serena bit her lip. "But..." Just then, my cousin saw me and came over to say hi. He glanced at Nick's hand and suddenly exclaimed, "Why are you taking pictures of me, bro-in-law?" Only then did Serena realize I hadn't been photographing her. Her face turned bright red as she stood there, flustered. I took my phone back and looked at Serena with contempt. The reason I don't attend these kinds of events is because I don't have to schmooze for drinks. Then I turned to Sean Miller and looked him up and down. "And you think you're worth a secret photo?" I scoffed, turned, and walked away. "Sean, no wonder you don't bring her out. She's so arrogant." "Nick, you were asking for it." Before Nick left, he added, "You pissed off my wife. That deal we just talked about is off." Sean, damn it. For the rest of that night, Sean Miller followed me around, apologizing non-stop. I learned that he was an artist signed to one of the group's subsidiary companies and also the fourth son of the Miller family, who were old family friends of the Blackwoods. He was in love with Serena, who was 5 years older than him, but she had always rejected him. When he found out Serena liked Nick, he decided to ask his love rival to be his matchmaker. I couldn't help but laugh. Asking his rival to be his matchmaker? Is he an idiot? Nick nodded. Yes. After a pause, he corrected me. Not a rival. I have nothing to do with either of them. I said sourly, but your childhood friends, how can you say you have nothing to do with her? Nick pinched my nose. His expression was serious. It's true that we've known each other since we were kids, but I went abroad when I was very young. Strictly speaking, I've only seen her a few times at parties. We're not close. And it certainly doesn't mean there's anything special between us. To be honest, I could tell he had no romantic feelings for Serena. If he did, he wouldn't have married me. And he definitely wouldn't be so addicted to that. Nick rubbed his chin against my cheek. Besides, if just seeing someone as a kid means you have a connection, then you and I have a connection, too. Huh? I looked at him, shocked. You and I met when we were kids. How is that possible? He was silent for a long time, then he let go of me and walked to the desk. He opened a drawer, took something out, and came back. He held out his hand, palm open. What's this? A soda can ring. Huh? I almost laughed. Isn't this just a soda can? Nick, have you lost your mind? Thinking this is a ring? Halfway through my sentence, a memory fragment flashed in my mind. When I was 8, my mom took me to a wedding. The original flower girl refused to go on stage, so I volunteered. But I really loved the ring. After I gave it away, I turned around and started crying, making the whole room laugh. Only my mom patiently comforted me. She pulled the tab off a soda can, twisted it into a ring, and told me to give it to someone I liked. My mom said someday, but I heard right now. I scanned the room, and my eyes landed on a boy standing in the corner, looking out the window. He was wearing a little black suit, with delicate features and fair skin, like a prince from a storybook. I ran over to him, took his hand, and put the ring on his finger. Mister, I like you. Marry me. The boy looked down, his eyes wide and bright. Just like the eyes that were looking at me right now. Nick touched his nose to mine, his voice tinged with a hint of grievance. You forgot me, didn't you? To be honest, I don't remember much from before I was 8. When I pressed him for more details, Nick clammed up. He just shot back with, "You're the one who forgot, so you're responsible for remembering." Later, I went to ask my mom, and everyone at the dinner table turned to look at me. You don't remember? I was completely floored. Turns out, everyone knew. My cousin got up with a grin, came up behind me, and started telling the story with great enthusiasm. Apparently, my mom had noticed I wasn't at my seat and was about to go look for me. Just then, I came back to the table, dragging Nick by the hand, and announced to my mom, "Mommy, I found my new groom. I'm going to marry him." The whole room burst into laughter again at my childish declaration. My mom, mortified, told me to let go, but I refused and hugged him instead. I was so short back then that I could only wrap my arms around his waist. In the end, my mom had to bribe me with a trip to an amusement park to get me to let go of Nick. My mom said, "When you and Nick were set up for the arranged marriage, I marveled at your fate. I thought you were finally making good on your promise, but now you're telling me you don't remember?" I quickly backtracked. I remember. It's just a little fuzzy." No wonder I didn't remember. It was my cringy origin story. Turns out I've been boy crazy since I was a kid. I was too embarrassed to ever bring it up with Nick again. After that day, all the online gossip about Serena and Nick disappeared. I asked Nick if he was behind it. He said he hadn't had a chance to do anything yet, someone else had already taken care of it. Besides him, the only person I could think of was my mother-in-law, who values the family's reputation above all else. She had warned Serena and her family long ago to stop creating buzz. When my mother-in-law found out Serena had worn jewelry borrowed from her boutique, she fired the designer on the spot and had the sapphire necklace auctioned off. I didn't really care. From a business perspective, Serena's celebrity status could have brought some traffic to the brand. My mother-in-law was dismissive. My jewelry doesn't need a celebrity endorsement. Treasures accessible only to high society naturally don't need exposure or to become trendy. Then her tone shifted. If we really need someone to model them, you can do it. It'll save money, too. I was speechless. The wedding preparations took half a year, and the date was finally set for the spring. But as I was taste testing the menu for the reception, the unexpected happened. I was pregnant. With twins. Nick was worried I'd get too tired and wanted to postpone the wedding. I didn't want to and insisted on going through with it. But 3 days before the wedding, I was so sick I couldn't even get out of bed. We had no choice but to cancel and wait until after the babies were born. After the kids were born, Nick brought up the wedding again. I said let's wait a bit longer, until I get my pre-baby body back. Another year passed. At the kids' birthday party, Nick brought up the wedding again. I said let's wait until the kids can walk steadily and be our flower girl and ring bearer. The third year, Nick and I attended Serena and Sean Miller's wedding. She told me, I'm married now, so you don't have to be on guard around me anymore. It's time for you to have your wedding. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. You two really think highly of yourselves. Serena blushed. You don't hate me? I pursed my lips. I wouldn't say hate. It's more like indifference. We can't be friends, that's for sure. The wedding. I dragged it out year after year. Nick went to concerts with me, took me to Disneyland. He ate ice cream with me, stayed up late with me, and we even had sleepovers away from home. We did everything we were supposed to do, and everything we weren't. One day, after I rejected his wedding proposal yet again, Nick was surprisingly silent. He picked up our daughter and walked out of the bedroom. I was baffled. My mom and mother-in-law gave me a look. Go see what's wrong. I went out holding our son and saw him sitting on the floor with our daughter, silent tears streaming down his face. Our daughter saw her dad crying and just opened her mouth and called out Dada, looking completely bewildered. I was stunned for a long moment, then reached out to touch his face. Nick. We'll get married right away. No, I mean, we'll have the wedding. When he started crying, both kids started crying too. With all three of them wailing in front of me, I felt like crying too. There was no way I could console all of them.